Welcome to the Ultimate Landscape CEO podcast. This is your host, Jeffrey Scott. We have Greyson Walldorff with us. This guy is an innovator in the electric space. His company is Lawn Capital, based out of Decatur, Atlanta area of Georgia. 8-year-old company, $3 million in revenue, 25 employees, one location, 50-50 residential, commercial. And they have a very specific approach. No gasoline, no noise, no toxins. And he's building this business. He had to translate some of his gas powered equipment, but he's he's building a model that he can then scale without having to translate equipment, but just build this equipment from vehicles and electric equipment. He's building a capital structure, if you will, that's going to be easy for him to scale, that's going to save him money. And this is a very bright young guy here, highly educated, comes from the finance and accounting side, but a really fun guy, humble, approachable. You're going to learn a lot about the electric space. You're going to learn about him personally. He used to be a Division I goalkeeper for Georgia State University. And at the end, you're going to learn some lessons that he has taken from that space and how he applies it to his landscape business. But he really has dived into what it takes to build out the infrastructure to create a company that is all electric, no toxins. I could go on and on here, but if you're interested in this topic at all, you're going to love this podcast. If you're new to my community, you can learn more about me at jeffreyscott.biz. If you're not on my newsletter, you can sign up right there at the top of my website. We put out a weekly newsletter where we give a lot of great, usable, free information every week to help professionalize the industry and help landscape business owners and leaders achieve their dreams that they want from building a sustainable landscape business. So if you are new to me, you can find more information on my website, jeffreyscott.biz. Okay, let's go right to the show. Hey, Greyson, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jeffrey, for having me. Appreciate you putting the time together to listen to our story and what we're trying to achieve over here at Lawn Capital.
So tell the audience, who are you and what's the company?
Yeah, name's Greyson Walldorff. Name is Lawn Capital, our business. We're a residential and commercial landscape provider here in Decatur, Georgia. We have about 26 employees. Been in business 8 years. Started this business in college at Georgia State University and studied finance and accounting my sophomore year, and started this business to generate some extra money for school and kind of put my head down, and we continue to grow. And that's how we got here. We're about 50% maintenance, about 50% installation and enhancements. So we have a good mix there, about half and half commercial, residential. Our big push right now is we are pushing our new product that launched last November. It's our Plan Zero, and that's our 100% electric, zero chemical product on our maintenance side that is looking for an eco alternative to more traditional landscape services. We're 100% electric. Everything from our vehicles to our equipment is 100% electric. And that's a little bit about us.
You know, I run into more and more landscape professionals that come out of finance. And I'm not saying it's a huge number, but it's definitely more and more. What's going on there?
I'm not sure. I think, I think we all know and we all follow the private equity space is entering the business. And there seems to be I think it's service business in general. There's a lot of people coming from, big tech or big finance jumping into the business. I think people think you can gain the competitive advantage, I guess, against your classic legacy operators who have more of a landscape background. But there's trade-offs to not having. I'm not a landscape designer or architect, so
Yep.
there's definitely a trade-off. Sometimes it's a curse. You get too in deep in your own numbers and not as much into necessarily the operations of the business.
So, but what is it about young grads in finance, or is it just that that's more, maybe that's just more of a popular study these days?
Yeah, I think finance is a lot more popular. I think people associate. You know, I think when I was at Georgia State, I graduated in about 2018, 19. So I'm 28 years old, and it was a popular track. It weeded out a lot of people. I took on accounting because I was doing my own bookkeeping, so I double majored in accounting as well to kind of learn that side. Because at the end of the day, finance taught in school is not. It's not going to tell you. It's more corporate finance, which is not as applicable to what we're doing day to day as a small business.
Yeah. I earned my MBA, and obviously finance is a big part of that. And really, all the magic that I'm able to weave as a coach and consultant in the industry, or most of it, I learned after school.
Yeah,
So it gave a great foundation. I had to study accounting as well as one of my courses, but really it didn't teach me how to manage by KPIs like I've learned since then.
exactly. And school is not teaching you the people aspect. This is a people business. It is what it is. It requires a large staff. It requires a lot of people. Everything is interaction with people. This is not a supply chain. It is not robotics. You have to, and the numbers don't show that. They just don't.
So tell us the origination story. How did you come up with this idea?
For Plan Zero specifically.
Yeah.
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 So, really started in 2019 was when I put my first financial model together. Actually, when Rivian announced the R1 truck, R1T, and I looked at it and said, "Wow, this is we can only
Electric
the
electric
electric."
pickup truck for those
Yeah,
listening. Right?
yes, the electric pickup truck offered by Rivian. It was announced probably 2018, 19, and I remember that coming out and saying, "We can do this. This is possible." Back then, the numbers did not match. The equipment wasn't there yet, but so it's something we've been tracking for a while. And part of the big reason is I really just have not enjoyed the small engine side, the two cycle, the operator experience. I hated using it. I started in the field myself, until about 2019, 2020. So, I was out there every day using this equipment, and, coming from as a finance accounting grad, I wasn't necessarily the most mechanically inclined. So it was always a pain point in our business. And it was always someone I was trying to recruit and join our business was people with that skill set. We came from operator experience. I knew it wasn't, especially my generation, the two cycle equipment, SKU set out there. It's not a great user experience, especially for the next generation coming up. That alone with the mechanical side, the preventative maintenance, it's a big headache. So, 2019 we started modeling out, can we do this? It was too expensive. It was going to cost $200,000 to set up a vehicle. It's just it wasn't going to. We weren't able to recoup the costs. Roll forward to 2023. Things are changing. Ford coming out in 2022 with the Lightning, the E-Transit chassis. Things started looking better. Waited a year. July 2023. Me and my wife took a big trip. We're big travelers. Went out to Tokyo, Japan, and Kyoto, South Korea, Seoul. Did a big 3-week excursion and just really embracing and understanding how other cultures are operating. In the field service space, and a contracting space, it really opened my eyes to. I think we're looking at this wrong. I've always modeled our business and our operations off of legacy companies here in Georgia. That the big box trucks, the oversized equipment, just the big I call it big bad landscaping. And just seeing one extreme to the other, whether it's in Europe or wherever you are. It's I think there's a lot of options out there. So that was a big opening for me. So then we came back, got off the team, really started and started getting connected with Ford. My belief was from the beginning that the entire thing had to be electric. So we had to go from the chassis all the way up to the equipment. The whole thing had to be integrated together. Trying to do conversions on gas equipment, gas vehicles, and charging gas, charging via the gas trucks, just using inverters is just that tech it's not there. It's not good enough. So what put all that together. We
So
put
wait, what do you mean by it had to be integrated? I don't want to make any assumptions. You're saying charging the equipment off of the electricity generated by the electric vehicle?
Correct. So, our whole platform is fully integrated into the Ford Power on Board power management. So we worked with Ford directly, worked with their upfitting department, engineers there, got up the chain, was able to talk to them. And, we wanted to rethink how the common issue in transition to electric is I either have to go out with enough batteries to last, right? And now your battery cost is just astronomical, and that the economics start not working. Or I have to be able to charge on the go, right? So you see people put solar systems together. You see people put big battery packs in there. You see people put inverters that run off the gas truck. So maybe I got to leave the truck running while the crews are going. So then you get into some operational issues, and the whole thesis of this has to be a clean user experience. This has to be seamless from the time the crews get in the truck. It has to work. Everything needs to be fully charged at all times.
Yep.
Everything we need to have quick charging on the go. So that was really the how we went about it. So it only worked on an electric chassis, and there's a lot of customization available out there. You see the wild stuff that's you can put on a Zuzu NPR. Why aren't we thinking about that with electric chassis? And no one's really doing that. So we took it upon ourselves to really put that homework in. And today is actually an exciting day. We finally got our first pictures and specs back. We bought a bunch of electric chassis and cabs from Ford, and we had them fully customized to put boxes on. And in my opinion, I think they're the first electric landscape box trucks that are going to be built for this system. So we started with van model, the large vans, and now we've moved to we're for our commercial side, we're going to be using large electric box trucks. So that's really how it came about. It was using a lot of math, a lot of input. Took us 6 months to put this together. We try a lot of trial and error, a lot of error actually.
Are the the manufacturers of electric equipment, are they promoting this route at all, or what route do they promote? Like, which electric equipment do you use?
We use Cress and Greenworks, and we're testing out Gravely right now as well on the mower side. But for the electric equipment, we're using Cress, and they have an awesome cyber tank system that allows for faster charging on the go, and it has some mobile charging as well. But majority of the manufacturers are seeing inverters on trucks mixed with going out with enough batteries to last the day. So, but that's an expensive model. It's a lot of batteries. It also you got to think from the operator experience. So when we started with one van, one setup, and training a new crew on that. I mean, we went through three supervisors. The first two, one nothing to do with it. They're like, it's not my stove blowers. It's not my gas blower. It's not my gas equipment. You're going to have that friction at first, but and the biggest part is it's got to be easy and seamless. So, we demoed equipment with Milwaukee. We had Milwaukee here from their headquarters. We worked with them. We did trial runs with Echo, Milwaukee, Cress, and we did all of that in the van. Ran routes with it. Cress went the model, and it turns people off a lot because to get the charging system, you're looking at $14,000. But and those high sticker prices up front definitely make you think twice about doing this investment. So we went all in. We tested all these brands. We found that the more batteries you had, the user experience got a little messy. Whether it was organizing, them keeping up with it, it was just another kind of headache. So we went with.
I think it's brilliant that you've integrated like that, and so you're you're just saying it's a smoother. Um, Obviously, you're saying it is smoother. So what?
Yeah,
So you picked Cress. You said what was the two other companies?
Greenworks.
Isn't that's a retail brand company? Is it?
So they have a commercial line, and we specifically use them for the 36 and 48-inch stand-on mowers, the large wide area mowing.
Okay.
Crest does not offer that product. And Gravely, we're right now demoing some stuff with them. We're looking at options for much larger 48, 60-inch wider mowing setup. So that's kind of the next step. We took the approach of we're gonna roll out this product on our smallest properties. Okay, so we went to the entire book, about 220 customers, put them in a spreadsheet, went and found the acreage of each one, and we said, all right, we're going to segment all our properties by the smallest ones. Started with, all right, properties under a half acre. Let's test here. All right, truck 2 came out in January. Now we went to 3/4 of an acre. Truck 3 was 1 acre. 4 and 5 now are up to 1.5 acres. So we're testing the limits, and we're doing the bandwidth there. We specialize in the city. We do service properties that are 4 to 5 acres. They're still on gas. Our goal is by 2025 to really start to transition that. We do know the limits of
That's an interesting segmentation. So one truck does the smallest properties, another truck does the mid-sized properties. Does that not make it inefficient from drive time
So
perspective?
that's how we rolled out and started. We have spent a year and a half now just totally testing all this. So call it R&D. So we're not once we got 1 through 3 rolling, we were able to integrate the routes and do all this. But we didn't want to put an operator on an acre property with the wrong setup. So
Yeah.
we wanted to make sure it was seamless all the way out. So yeah, we spent a lot of money. We've been we burned cash for a good part of the last 6 months of last year, testing everything, buying all this stuff, focusing managers on it. A lot of sleepless nights working with Ford, buying all these assets, and testing it, and giving our service for free to most of our customers while we tested all this. So it was a very long experience. It's been expensive, but we're starting to see those rewards now on the back end on the cost savings.
So how are you setting up the trucks and the routes?
So in what regard?
Well, you were saying you had it segmented by
Yeah.
property size.
So now we've completely split it up into, we got our residential portfolio and our commercial portfolio, and residential is 100%. So we run four to 5 trucks right now in residential. They are 100% electric. They are routed based on like traditionally based on properties next to each other, unless there's a larger outlier.
Every truck is set up the same.
Correct. Every truck is set up the same. Every truck is outfitted the same, set up the same, wrapped the same. Everything is it's very similar.
And commercial?
Commercial, yeah. So so right now we have 1 commercial electric truck going. We have two in transit right now, the box setups. So right now we're mostly doing smaller footprints. So this truck's doing right now we're entering commercial.
Yeah.
The idea was to validate on residential, and then move to commercial to really start selling this here in the city. But the 1 truck right now, yeah, it's doing smaller properties, restaurants. It's got Hampton Inn, a hotel, a small apartment complex here and there. So it's got the same setup of everything. But the next step is the 3-4 man team. Right now, all our trucks right now are 2-person teams. So the next step is we need bigger boxes. So we went to Ford 6 months ago. We've been on this project with Ford and the local upfitters here, and I just posted on my LinkedIn page today actually some pictures of that setup that we're getting delivered next week. And July 1st, we're going to launch 2 full commercial. It's going to have wide area mowing. These teams are going to be taking on 2 to 2.5 acre properties.
What's the financial? Tell me how the ROI on electric versus gas, apples to apples is putting the purpose aside. How does it look financially?
It's been a hard to when you compare year to year, right? We're a fast growing company, so we been growing at. This will be our biggest year, and we'll do about 3.2 million this year. So it's hard to see the exact savings, but what we do see is that we have used 75% less gas. So we went from spending, I don't know, 5 to 7,000 a month in gas to now two. I mean, here I'll give you one thing. We have on site fuel, and they're kicking us out. We're not buying enough gas, so I can't have on site fuel anymore, which is fine because we're moving that way.
Yeah.
We are not seeing. We haven't had any. We haven't had any repairs and maintenance or any oil changes, all that. So that line item's gone. I wish our accounting was more forensic, and I had what are you going to spend your time on? Am I going to go through and really point out every But
listen, you're doing this for a passionate reason, but
yeah.
you are a finance major, so it's very fair for me to ask you.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Well,
I mean, what I will say is we've had out of all the sets of equipment we have had pretty much 95% uptime on equipment, 90, close to 100. We've purchased barely any parts on any of this stuff. We've never had to do any preventative maintenance or oil changes. So all those costs are down. You can do the math over 5 crews, and each crew is electric from a cost side is down from about $50 a day in fuel costs to $3 now on charging costs. So we've seen a swing on on those items as much lower. So I've estimated from rough models that our operating costs on a mowing crew has now decreased 10%.
Any sense on the overall return on capital invested, gas versus electric?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I learned when we were doing this transition is that the secondary market on all your equipment is pretty much zero. So, we transitioned 5 crews. Now I got 5 crews worth of gas equipment, and trying to offload that, it's been a joke. It's whether you spend all this time, trying to go sell 8, walk behind mowers has been challenging. So there is a true cost to that. That was kind of unaccounted for, but it is what it is. When in terms of the biggest, there's huge advantages of whether it's tax credits. I mean, every crew we're setting up, we're getting big time tax credits. So what I found though is we're about at the same cost to set up a electric crew versus a gas crew. Okay. A big part of our thesis internally is to reduce the fleet footprint. So residential crews are not driving giant box trucks. They're not.
So if the cost is the same and the maintenance cost is less, and you haven't really talked about running costs in terms of gasoline versus electric, but so in theory, you're saying the startup costs are the same, the running costs are less.
Correct. So I mean, we think we can catch a 10% EBITDA swing on that. So I think we can turn a 8 to 10% margin crew on mowing to I think we can start to achieve 20% at scale.
Yeah.
So that's our target. That's our goal. Our goal is to achieve enhancement type margins on a mowing crew at scale. I mean, that's our target. Without raising prices dramatically, we have seen on the residential side we have way more pricing power. So given the limited amount of people who have this service, we went from an average price of $350 a month to now $450 and saw limited churn. We're seeing better feedback from the customers. The customers, it could be a mix of we've really, us as an organization, we're kind of going through 2 phases. We're going through this phase of new technology and new, equipment and style of service, and we're also going through a growth stage of we're adding office staff. We're growing our org chart, we're growing our systems, we're adding account managers. So there's a lot going on, and it's a pretty challenging time for our business. A lot of work.
The good kind of challenging.
Yes, good challenge.
So I've had gas powered and all electric service my house. The all electric was a franchise where they had the solar powered on the roof.
Yeah.
And I definitely preferred the electric. The only downside, this is going to sound funny, the only downside is I couldn't hear when they showed up on my property.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would miss them when I wanted to talk to them. So as long as you can like let your clients know who want to
We,
talk to you.
Yeah, we're pretty we have a pretty big tech stack on our side here. So a big part of my passion has been technology. I'm a part-time coder as well. So we've set up some really awesome systems. All our customers receive an SMS message, text message evening before service, letting them know when we're coming and all that. So they all customers we're constantly keeping them in the loop. They know when we're coming. But yeah, you can't hear us when we come. I mean, we our internal target is that every piece of equipment operates at the same or lower decibel level of a household vacuum.
Gotcha. So if you ever get the same hobby as me, which is racing cars, you're going to have to get the EV.
Yeah, I mean, you got the Formula One EV coming out. I mean, what are you a Formula One fan?
50-50.
Well, if in the racing game, they say we're 10 years away from that really being the standard.
I mean, now there are hybrids, right?
Yeah, there are hybrids. There's the Formula One EV, which is pretty exciting. I'm a pretty big. Well, the best part about this journey has been everything. One of our first customers that signed up for Plan Zero from externally actually was the head of was high up at Tesla supercharging network. So I really got close with him, and a big issue for us was charging infrastructure. So it's cool and it's all good and dandy to get all these EVs, but how are you going to charge them? How are you going to charge them efficiently? How are you going to, how are you going to load balance? So we've gone through a lot of rabbit holes and worked with a lot of good people that I've met through Georgia Tech and the Tesla people, and just really learning how the infrastructure is put together. There's a lot of moving parts. I can see why your average, your majority of your businesses do not want to make this transition. It's a huge operational headache. It's a huge time investment. It's a huge. I mean, you got to really want it. This is something that I had a tick for. I wanted to do it. I wanted to go for it.
Yeah.
I wanted us to prove that this worked. So it's all fine and dandy, but like anything, if you want to improve margins 5 to 10%, I mean, it's going to take work.
Well, you're on the bleeding edge. Like you just said, I want to prove that it works. Once it's proven, then more people will join.
True, they will. They will, and I think we rising tide. If more people go this route, I think it'll only be better for our business. We're it's a fragmented market out there. I don't think we're going to be a $200-300 million business or anything, but I think we can be a fantastic leader here locally in Atlanta. And potentially be a huge asset to somebody in the future that needs help with making these transitions.
Listen, if I was your strategist, I agree with that, but I'd also at some point be looking at markets where the municipalities are going to drive it, and if you
Yeah,
can get there first.
and that's a huge challenge we've gone through. We put in some big. We've been starting to look for those RFPs and put them in. We did one for a local city here in Georgia, and we're a young business. We're learning that market. We're learning how it's what is when Yellowstone puts a price in, why is it different than ours? What's their strategy? So we're learning a lot about that mentality and stuff, and there's a lot of growth for us to do, and we want to play that. We want to prove that we can put this on a municipality. We want to prove that and make help clients achieve the clean there's a big culture problem, right? You got municipalities, property owners. They go and they want to build these beautiful, LEED certified buildings and all that, and then they put in these beautiful native landscapes are becoming more popular now. Installations and water efficiency, and then the cherry on top is, well, you got to get maintained by big bad gas blowers. It's like that seems to be there's got to be an in between. There's got to be.
Well, it seems to me that's a perfect in for you to cold call and get right in there.
Yeah, we're doing that. Right now, like I said, I've been extremely tied up in operations implementation, and we're building our organization chart. I look at 2024 as us as a big building and improving and getting the systems and the infrastructure right to do this. And our goal is 2025 is a big growth year for us. It's big sales marketing. We've never marketed. I've never paid for an advertisement in the history of the business, and we've continued to grow at a 20-25% growth rate.
So how is that? I mean, it sounds nice and fancy, but what's really happening there?
Word of mouth. I think our location is big. Our area of Atlanta has grown a lot. That helps. If you looked back at 2016 to now, the in-town Atlanta market has just blown up. It just has. So there's been a lot more of that. I do a lot of business development myself. I'm out there, meeting with people. I'm a sales leader for our business. We have our account. We have our general manager Ethan. He's a big sales leader for our business. So, and we've never attempted to kind of get over our skis. Say and the growth aspect. We don't want to take on more. We are still selective in our work. We're still we're expensive. We're not the cheapest. We're not the most expensive, but we definitely turn down work. We're not chasing work, and that's been a good policy for us. A good growth strategy is I think once you start growing much past 25 or 15 to 25% annually, you're really you're implementing some serious work there, and you got to have the systems behind you to back it. Otherwise, quality will drop.
Oh, no, for sure.
Yeah.
So you say you do zero marketing, but that's not really true if you include business development. So you're doing business development, but you're not having to do any traditional marketing.
Correct. Yeah. So, I do business development. You're the business owner, right? You're always working. So, but I'm not personally, say going out and cold emailing or cold calling per se. It's more, I always gauge. Funny quote: the best salesmen can't explain how they get their sales. It's almost you can't explain it. It's just it happens. That's kind of true of me. I couldn't explain how I'm doing it. I'm being a business owner representing our business.
I wonder if a sales manager would take that, but I still like the quote.
Yeah, the good business development and good BD guys. They can't. There's no explanation. They there's
Good
no
BD guys. I I like that. Hey, I have a couple questions. So you like to do coding. You're doing some of your own coding. Does that mean you're not buying off the shelf software?
No, we're not. We use a couple platforms, but our entire and this may be a big component of our growth has been able to capture more sales. We use a platform called Zoho. It's like a Salesforce competitor. I was actually in Austin last week at the big Zoho nationwide conference, meeting with all the developers and everything. And so we have a completely customized CRM process from lead to opportunity to account, and how we manage that account internally. So it's a passion of mine. Automation systems, easy workflows on the back end. So we try to use as much of that as possible. We just have not found that the typical off the shelf FSM platforms, Element, Jobber, even Aspire. Field service management. That's kind of that's the platform, right? A Jobber, Aspire is an FSM. They really lack CRM.
They really do. Why is that?
I don't know.
I totally agree with you.
And so that was a big part of me is was a big reason I went out to Austin to this conference. I want to go hang out with the tech guys, and how are the tech guys selling? Because if technology companies can sell $1 million deals remotely and through these automated processes, why can't landscapers do that? What's different about our BD process than a SaaS company selling business software to other businesses? And obviously we do have our physical nature to our business, but it's kind of the whole ethos of our company is how do we look at this from a different angle? Technology will never solve the day-to-day processes. I mean, at the end of the day, this is people doing great work, and technology is not going to. It's there's no app for that, right? But there is a lot that I think can be done. And I remember it was 2018, 2019, and sitting here and my phone's blowing up. I'm not keeping up with this. Did I send this lead to this person? Go sign up for Jobber or all these other things, and it's still disorganized. But how do we solve that? And then I had some buddies that going out of college working for as tech sales guys, and I went and studied their processes. What are they doing? What happens when someone contacts the company? So we took on that model. We do kind of a demo, a consultation call prior to every appointment. We look to use automations and do things like that.
Yeah. Okay. The other question I have is electric versus robotic. And so
Yeah.
let's take one of your competitors, Plants Creative. I think she's in Decatur, right?
Yes, she is.
I think she's going to be she's on the NALP board, and so she's high profile. But in any event, that's not the point. The point is she's big into robotics, right? And
Yes,
so
she
she's
is.
going the robotics route. You haven't mentioned that, and so give me, uh, I don't know, the pros and cons of one strategy versus the other, and from the client's perspective, what do they value more?
Yeah, robotics is. I couldn't get the numbers to work on my end, and I'd love to sit down with Pam over there and learn more about that because that's and it's a funny thing. It's like it's a culture thing inside our company too. It's like we don't just cut grass. It's like you can hire and that's a huge thing, and it's details, details, details. You never get fired for how you cut the grass ever. It's because you're not doing the detail work. You're not no one gets fired for cutting grass. But
Well, I don't know. Except in a super rainy month when you've left
yeah,
ditches.
true. Okay, yeah, there are exceptions to that, but 90% of the time, if I were to filter through our cancellations, is not due to you guys don't cut the grass right. So I I just haven't found the economics there. I see. I think there's trade offs. It's still it requires somebody to. We've tested two or three of them. We have, and it's just I couldn't find the economics to be there for us. It's a tight margin business, and I was worried that if I scaled that up to 80 to 100 of those things, that now you got this new balance sheet issue where you're trying to reduce labor by adding an asset, right?
Hmm.
A depreciating asset, which I bet has zero resale value. And you're attempting to, and then someone's got to manage that system. So I assume she has somebody running around town, and I mean the blade's got to get turned on and off. They have error messages here and there. I'd be curious how it works at scale. And there's a lot of great people out there doing a lot of that, and they've worked for them. And when I was in Tokyo, all the public parks are mowed by Echo and Husqvarna automowers, the big wide ones, and they sit in the park all day, and at night they go out and mow. So I do think there's absolutely applications for that.
Yeah.
We haven't done it yet, and we'll probably be exploring that soon. We got to stay focused on one thing.
I got to tell you, my wife loves her lawn.
Yeah.
And she's not really happy since we moved down south because the grass here, you can't overseed.
Yep.
It's just not as easy to maintain. And so we were in Holland last week for her family reunion, and we
Lovely.
stayed in a really uh, posh part of the country. And we're walking down, kind of peeking over, looking at the gardens of the homes. And we saw some beautiful lawns. Like, oh my God, I know my wife, she would have lawn envy looking
Yeah.
at that lawn. And we look in the back and there's the little robot mower mowing
Yeah.
the lawn, and the lawn looks perfect.
Yeah.
Uh,
It provides a stellar product. And I haven't gone down the rabbit hole. We just haven't done it, and I hope to do it soon. But I've read in some of your stuff. You got to focus on one thing, right? You got to
yep.
stay focused. I don't want to get everyone. We're doing robotics and electric and this.
Yeah. But so let's go to the second half of my question. What do your clients say? What do they want? How do they differentiate the two?
From robotics and the electric.
Yeah, from a value proposition, if I had two companies, yours in plants, just for example, but company A, company B, what what are you learning about what the about client perceptions and what they want.
Yeah, so I've never actually encountered a customer request a robovar. Never. Um, so I don't know if that's I think it's, you know, I mean, I don't know. Have you, I mean, I've never heard of that. So maybe, maybe the perception we've seen is that people want low noise and they don't want glyphosate in their property. That's what we found.
They
They
don't
don't
want what? Sorry?
glyphosate Roundup.
Oh,
So we've seen, that's a big part of our Plan Zeros. We don't use any glyphosate. We're not using any Roundup. So it's a totally zero toxin plan. So that's what we find the demand is. People do not want those two items. I've never had someone say, "Hey, I want a robot to mow." And I think if we introduced it, they would be happy with it, and then we'd probably change their opinion. As we've found with the electric landscaping, is that when we have people reach out who not necessarily reaching out because we offer that, but because we have good reviews and they like the pricing, and and then once they start experiencing the electric experience, they're very happy with it, and they want to continue to use a company that's doing that. And I would assume that transition would be similar with robotics, right? Once you put one on someone's site and the grass was always perfectly cut, like you saw in Holland, they probably would be like, well, I don't want to ever not do that again. But I've never had someone request it. And that just,
yeah.
small sample size here. But
Yeah. Well, it's a small and biased sample size because you're attracting clients who want what you're selling.
yeah, exactly.
But it's I'm not trying to trap you or anything. It's
Yeah.
just an interesting question.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to see the operations behind that, and have that conversation. That'd be very interesting.
So you're not only zero gas, you just sort of mentioned it, but you're zero toxins. So
Correct.
that's your dual and zero noise, I guess, right?
Yeah, zero compromise.
Well, yeah, right. I read that. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if that was just an add-on. But so you're zero gas, zero toxins, zero noise, zero compromise. And so it's interesting. You're saying, here's how I'm interpreting what you're saying. The client wants the benefit. They don't care how they get there.
Correct.
And you're offering the direct benefits without doing the robotics.
Correct. So we're saying, and we're seeing this in the market across whether it's in automobiles, right? People want a car, right, and they just don't want a gas car. But they still want the car to do the same thing the gas car does. So we're giving that option to customers and landscaping. So if I'm a homeowner, I don't want the noise, and I don't want a bunch of Roundup sprayed all over the yard. And like I don't want any of that. So we're saying we can, but I want similar results. I don't want a clover lawn. I don't want it to look like a wild place out here. So there's a demand for traditional landscape, called design and infrastructure, and how a traditional landscape looks, but that's maintained in a sustainable, low noise, low impact method.
Yeah.
Because when you go to the grocery store, people want organic or non-organic. I mean, we see that, right? People want the same products; they just don't want the compromise that comes with some of that. And I think it's a growing trend. I think it hasn't hit the outdoor market as much. I think there's a lot of complaining rumbling around. You got, I mean, it's amazing the groups that have reached out to us here in Georgia locally that are, advocating for noise bans and advocating for, emission standards on this equipment. So, and these are people on their own time doing these, lobbying. And I find that very interesting that people are starting to notice that. And I think, and our goal is just to, give that option and take one leaf blower off the street one at a time.
The benefit of what you're doing is you're looking to where legislation is going, could be going, may eventually go, and you're just trying to get ahead of that curve.
Correct. I mean, it's getting ahead of that. It's perfecting the system. I mean, we're talking on the panel there with the gentleman from TOA Industries, and kind of him telling us what's going on at Garden Land and all the companies that are now having to transition to electric out west. And there's some nightmares going on. It's when the transition when you have to figure it out all of a sudden, and it's it's an infrastructure challenge, and I want us to figure all that out, experience that pain now, and
So,
really.
are you not thinking of moving a branch out in California, given what's happening out there?
I mean, it might be in the cards. Who knows? But we want to perfect it here. We want to fill out our branch here in Atlanta, and then we want to move from there. So there's a lot of work to do. I do think there's a 2 to 3 year window here where nobody's going to do anything unless the municipalities require it. But I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think we're doing it for multitudes of reasons. User experience. The employees, once we get them on it, don't want to go back. It's pretty. It's safer. Our vehicles are safer. Everything is just it's much better. And that's the workforce and employee retention is extremely
How is
important.
your vehicle safer?
So we've downsized vehicles. So we've downsized from large box trucks to the e-transit van model. So the features on an electric vehicle are just tenfold safer than that comes off a stock NPR, Isuzu NPR. Everything from it brakes, braking, braking prior to collision, lane assist, 360 cameras, just the entire less blind spots, smaller footprint. So it's a lot easier to get around town, especially in the city here. So we found that to be, driver safety is a lot better in those vehicles. It's just
I meant to ask you. You said you went to Japan and Seoul, and you saw that they use smaller equipment. I think is what you said.
it's smaller vehicle footprints was a big part. Isuzu is a Japanese company, right? And there wasn't a single Isuzu there that was the size that we have here. I mean, some of the we have them. We still we have double cab, Isuzu long bodies. I mean, we got big trucks, and I mean
Yeah.
they're giant compared to what. And I think there's a lot of we found there's a lot of wasted space. I mean, it's almost like this mentality of bigger is always better. And I get
Yeah.
it. If you're doing large municipal contracts, you need that. But we don't need a double cab or even a single cab 16, 18-foot box to go do residential maintenance. It's just not necessary. It's just there's so much wasted space between 6 feet higher. There's it seems to be we found that we could really condense this and be more efficient.
It's funny when I was just in Holland, and the cars there are smaller, and they have models there that we just don't have here.
Yeah,
Um, and as I was renting a car to travel, they were going to upsize me, and I'm like, no, 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 no. I need a car I can drive through town and park
yeah,
easily.
yeah.
And so
And
I said, no, give me the smaller car. Uh,
that's the mentality. That's where we're going. And you have to right size it. So you got to know where our target market is 3 acres or smaller right now. I mean, that's our target market. We know our limitations. We know the run times on the batteries. We've tested all of them. We know how long a blower runs. We know that we're not servicing 10-acre parks. We know that. We know there's enough business in that market, and we can make a big impact because majority of the places we target are high traffic. So we're targeting high traffic, urban areas with a lot of stakeholders involved, whether that's tenants of the building, people at the retail stores, or just how do we be a lower impact service to everyone, every stakeholder of the building, whether residential or commercial.
yeah, that's good. So, have we answered every little tidbit question you gave me? You mentioned dealer support, gas versus electric. Have we touched on that?
No, we haven't. I mean, we've had a fantastic experience dealing with press, particularly Adam over there, and he just being, it's a small market right now. The gas market is, I don't know the numbers, but I would imagine the Toro company, our only publicly traded one, or here in the States, is probably selling 99% gas versus electric, right? So if but the investments and the money being poured into the electric divisions, they have large support and they're pretty independent of the gas side. So we found that we were able to get. I mean, we were able to get on calls with the Crest team in Germany and really work through these battery systems. I don't even know if I mean when I buy a Exmark mowers from the dealer, it's I mean, it kind of stops there. There's no one to call. There's no, you're not really giving much support. So what we found is that and it's been kind of whole industry wide going into the green space. I call it, for, more renewable and eco-conscious products and stuff, is that the people are just way more, everyone's passionate about it. Everyone wants to help each other. Everyone wants this to work. We're all kind of trying to achieve the same thing. So we found that just in general, everyone we interact with in the space has been extremely positive and just helpful.
That's interesting. Yeah. So you guys are like all in it together.
Yeah,
You're
so,
inspiring.
correct. And they want it to work because, and we found, I mean, people are not buying this stuff here. I mean, we find that we're able to acquire equipment and vehicles on the electric side pretty affordable, just because people aren't buying it. They don't.
So I have a question for you. We're out of time, but I have
Yeah.
a couple last questions.
Okay.
And if there's anything you want to mention, so you almost played soccer professionally, is that right?
That's true. I was a big soccer player. I had a scholarship at Georgia State. I was a Division I college athlete there for 2 years. Kind of had a career-ending concussion, which is
Ooh.
why I joke I probably went into landscaping. But that was kind of my story. I played competitively my whole life. Traveled all over the country for it, and had a scholarship and just didn't work out. So that was that was kind of my background, getting into this.
So which do you think will reach? Let me think how to ask this. Which do you think is going to reach more widely acceptance quicker, soccer or electric landscaping?
Soccer, probably. I mean, the MLS is growing. I mean, today, it's 2 o'clock here Eastern time. The Euros just started out in Germany. So you're in Holland, so they're about to play the European Championships. But yeah, I'm a big soccer fan. We have our local Atlanta United MLS team. So
Yeah, it's the European Cup is what you're referring to,
yeah,
right?
yeah, European
Yeah.
Cup.
Yeah, I'm back in the US, but the Dutch don't need to win, they just need the Germans to lose or they just need to beat the Germans.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
So what did you learn from that experience that you've applied to business?
I would say Division I soccer, Division I sports probably are. I mean, it was some of the hardest things I ever did. I mean, I say it all the time. Our coach's favorite phrase was the next. The most important play is the next play, and that's stuck with me forever. And I had problems in school. I wasn't the best student. College soccer taught me structure, taught me you have to be here at this time, practice starts at this time, we do this on this, you have to be here, study halls here. So it's a very structured environment. Being a collegiate athlete, that really carried over into the business. I mean, it just did. You want to run your organization. I've always said we should run these organizations in the landscape space as sports teams. Our guys are athletes. Our teams are athletes out there. They're working hard every day in the sun, physical. How do we treat this organization more like a sports team?
So give me some examples of what you do. You're the head coach in your company. What are you doing that you've borrowed from, head coaches that you mentored under?
In our organization,
Mm-hmm.
I would say it starts with the little things. So I try to be very particular about the little things in the organization, whether that's customer response time. Every customer needs to be responded but within 24 hours. If we're going to say being on time to appointments, it's extremely important. Timely time. I find in our sales data from our CRM that if we send out the estimate within 24 to 48 hours of the estimate, the chances of winning it go up. I mean, almost twofold. It's the longer you wait, the longer your odds decrease. So timeliness was a huge factor in the structure of collegiate sports. Doing the little things, making sure the little things are done. I have a very fond memory of not turning in my bag after a big trip we did to New York for a game on time to get the laundry done. And I was at the field the next morning at 6 a.m. running 6 miles. So, the little things, are the truck's clean at the end of the week? Are we doing, are we making sure all the trash is out of the trucks every day? Are the trucks rolled out by X time? So, these are all important things that definitely very much relatable to sports.
So you harp on the little things.
The little things, I think the little things, a complete reflection of our organization, how quickly we respond to someone, how quickly we're able to get an estimate out, if we show up to the meeting on time, do our trucks look clean?
But
I think,
how did your management style get formed?
I think
You're
it's still
sorry,
forming. It's still forming. So, I'm 28, and this is extremely challenging MBA experience, as I say. My management style is pretty fluid. I'm trying to develop that, more, and I have a good mentor and in another industry, but just learning from other CEOs and organizations, and it's hard. I would ask you to ask my employees my management style.
all right. Maybe I will. Hey, one last question for you. Give us, from your perspective, a prediction for the industry in the next 3-5 years. What do you see?
In the industry, I see growth. I think the industry is growing. I'm curious. I don't have an opinion on it, but there seems to be heavy consolidation in the top end. So private equity continues to go into it. I track all that pretty closely, and
Yeah.
I'm curious if the financial engineering over the last 5 years from private equity results in success in the next 5 years. If that continues to be, it seems to be a proven strategy in private equity to roll up companies and then sell the platform. Will that continue? I don't know. That's where I don't know if that seems to be the trend. Will the industry go more fragmented again? I'm not sure. But I'm a little skeptical of the large scale roll up and acquisition strategies. I think we're losing personal touch in some fashion in a lot of our businesses. But I'd probably imagine valuations don't continue to go up.
Got it. Yeah. I kind of wonder how some of the valuations seem, um, they don't seem to make total sense to me.
No.
It's more of a sidebar, but I was just reading an article about how they're experimenting with the different AI models
Yeah.
on predicting stocks, on doing stock picking.
Yeah.
And apparently, chat and those AI models do a better job, not as of now, not because they're smarter, but because they don't use ego or emotion, and they just follow the rules. And so
Yep.
I wonder how much ego and emotion is actually tied into the what's pushing up the valuations right
Yeah.
now, and are they actually following their own rules?
And we learned in business school, a big part of that was majority of acquisitions by larger companies are driven by ego, not business sense. Majority don't actually work. But I think overall the industry software will continue to improve. I think we're going to get more tech savvy. I think data is going to be a huge part of it. I think those companies who use and embrace data will win in the landscape business. I think there's a big data problem in landscaping, and it's a huge data nightmare. And ChatGPT and all those things you're talking about, AI will help increase that. So I would definitely encourage landscapers to be on software platforms that will be prepared to handle that, because I think how computer systems and AI will be able to handle data will be tenfold change in 5 years. And if you don't have the data, you're going to get wiped out.
You make a good point. I just want to repeat it, what I heard. If you're going to choose a software platform, choose one that's integrating or preparing to integrate with AI.
Correct. Because I think right now there's so much data and the KPIs. You could spend a year building out your KPI dashboards for everything: driver safety, time spent on property, email sent to customers. But in 5 years, if you have a place where all that data is stored, um, AI will help interpret that, and build that, be able to provide better KPIs than you have now. But if you don't have that platform,
Yeah.
your competitors are going to be, I think account management is going to change of all that, these tools. We're going to be able to know, predicting on, easy prediction on whether a property needs attention or not. I think there's going to be a lot of change in all that. And
You probably could predict that now because you know which of your crews are great and which one's not.
true,
But
true,
that's
true.
more of a sidebar joke. All right, this is good insight. Wanted to ask you one last question. Oh yeah, so are you going to stick with your own homemade or in-house built software, and is what you're building, will it integrate with AI?
Yeah, so what we're building is absolutely integrated with AI. And yes, we're going to stick with that. Our goal is to get up. Currently, we have a out of the box solution for our crews, Jobber, and then we use our back end account management and sales processes through our custom platform. Our goal is to get completely off of out of the box solutions and have stuff built completely for us, that integrates with AI and all that. But yes, I mean, I think that's the future. I don't think there's a lot to do with it right now, but I think the biggest thing is you have to set up everything to handle that data. So you got to have the database set up, and that's extremely important.
Grayson, this has been excellent. I think we should catch up again in the future when you're on your next whatever iteration of what you're doing.
Yeah,
Uh, and I appreciate you sharing with us everything you have today.
I appreciate your time, and I encourage I encourage all the landscapers who listen to go out and put one electric truck on the road.
Amen.